And good afternoon, good morning. Thanks for joining us today for FranNet's How to Fund Your Business. Before we get started, just a couple of housekeeping items. Our program is being recorded today, so as you attend and listen, just remember that you will be getting a recording of the program as well for future viewing within a couple of hours after the conclusion of the program. We usually do save time for questions, but because all lines are muted, we ask that you submit your questions in the question box on your control panel as we go through the program. We will do our very best to get all of your questions answered at the conclusion of the program. If not, we'll make sure that we connect with you one-on-one to get those questions answered. So again, I want to thank you for joining us today on How to Fund Your Business. We're going to talk a little bit about funding business startups, purchase of an existing business, or even purchase of a franchise. My name is Bridget Betzer. I'm here in Michigan, and the snow is actually gone and the sun is peeking out today. So we're getting really excited for spring up here. Just a little bit about myself. I grew up in the franchising world and joined FranNet of Michigan about 10 years ago after spending 13 years in the non-medical home care franchising world. For those of you who aren't familiar with FranNet, we may have some individuals joining us here today that came from SCORE or SBDC or one of our other national partnerships. I want to welcome all of you for coming, but we are a 30-year-old international franchise consultancy firm, and we have local-based franchise consultants all across North America and Europe. We don't sell franchises here at FranNet, but we are more of a coaching group. We work with folks just like you that are exploring business ownership and provide free services to you to help you understand the type of business ownership that might be the best for you. And if it's franchising, work with you to gain knowledge and education so that you can make informed decisions on franchises that may be a good choice for you and may be a good fit. So we work a lot like executive recruiters here at FranNet. We have an inventory of about 250 different franchise concepts that we work with. We screen all of those franchisors before we bring them into our inventory. And we also screen you, the applicant, for our franchisors and provide what I can best describe as a matchmaking type service. So again, we don't sell franchises. We're not brokers. We provide a lot of education and guidance and coaching as you research franchise opportunities. And one of those areas that we guide you on and work with you on as you look at businesses is funding your business. And that's why we're here today, is to provide you some information on today's lending environment and different sources that you can take advantage of and consider as you fund your new business, whether it's a business startup, purchase of an existing business, or a franchise. And I want to introduce you here now, our presenter for today's program, Wendy Skimmer with Benetrends. Wendy, thanks for joining us today.
Thank you, Bridget, and thank you everybody for joining me today on this Monday morning here in California. It is raining here, so I'm glad you guys are amongst sunshine, hopefully where you are. We do go through the information today very quickly, and I want to just emphasize the benefit of you getting with your FranNet consultant and setting up a call to follow up for your personal needs with your consultants here at Benetrends. And so just to get right into it, a lot of folks, when you think about opening up a business, think I'm just going to go to my local bank. And I want to tell you, here at Benetrends, we're a full service retirement planning company. A lot of folks are surprised, why would Bridget or my FranNet consultant send me to Benetrends? Well, I just want to let you know that we are the kind of company you want to be partnering with on this journey. We can help you utilize retirement funds without tax or penalty. We can match you to a lender all across the nation that can help you on this journey of becoming an entrepreneur. We work with a lot of folks on franchises, non-franchises, existing startup businesses, and Benetrends has been helping folks like yourself since 1983. So we are definitely well versed in the world of funding, and definitely appreciate our relationship with FranNet. I know it's not emphasized enough that FranNet matches are the most successful out of any other network in the industry, so it's always an honor to work with them. So to get right into it in the sense of time, again, my name is Wendy Skimmer. My contact information will be at the end of the program. And some of you might be working with different consultants that work with different representatives here at Benetrends. We'll make sure we get you with the right person and help you with your personal needs. In today's environment, a lot of folks want to know what's happening with SBA loans. Are the banks lending? Are they inundated with PPP and all this other good stuff? And yes, the banks are inundated, you guys, and we work with a pretty large pool of lenders. So there is always a benefit if you have a relationship with your bank. But what if that one bank can't help you out, or in the 11th hour something goes wrong? It's really nice to work with a partner like us where we have a pool of lenders, where we're going to go and we're going to shop your loan. We're going to find the appropriate lender for you and then help you navigate through getting that loan through closing. Because it's one thing to get pre-qualified with Benetrends, and then it's another thing to get pre-approved from the lender. But we all know seeing that money and being able to pay those fees to get the business started is a whole different ballgame. And we will help you navigate through that. The SBA program right now is still one of the most common funding programs for a startup business. A lot of folks don't realize that these SBA loans can go up to $5 million. They do have micro loans, less than 50, but most SBA loans that I'll be working with you here at Benetrends are going to be starting at 50,000 and going straight through to $5 million. And again, that's loan size, not project size. We do have a lot of lenders that like the bigger loans that are 350 and under. I know a lot of you might be looking at smaller projects. We do work with smaller lenders. You'll hear a lot about the express loan, the fast track loan. There's a lot of different terminology for basically what is a loan that is considered under 150,000. There's a couple lenders that will do a working capital only loan where you don't have to have personal collateral and could put down as little as 10 or 11%. So definitely worth discussing what your personal needs are so we could come up with a great program for you. Interest rates right now, as you would expect, are low. Some folks expect them to be lower than this, but I can tell you I've been doing this a very long time. This is the lowest I've seen them in my career. The most the lender can charge you today is 6% interest. Prime is at 3.25. They can add 2 3/4 points to that loan. Most of my loans are coming in the mid fives, 5.5, 5 3/4. The lenders do want to see that you have strong personal credit. Folks will ask me every day, what is that magic number? I think a good number to think about is if you're below a 680, your goal should be to get there. You want to be at a 680 or better, no foreclosure, short sale, or bankruptcy for the past 10 years, and you're in good shape. If you have any issue there or concern, you'll talk to your consultant and we'll figure out what is a good path for you to get you where you need to be. A typical SBA loan, a typical lender is going to want to see 20% down. The reason why we put 20 to 30% down is because there could be some circumstances where the bank does require more, but we can discuss that depending on what brand you're looking at and the strength of your financial package. Most likely, if you're loan over 150, be prepared to have some personal collateral requirement. I know I work with a lot of folks in Texas and in Florida, and you can't use your home. That's okay. We will work with you and the lender to navigate through that and figure out what makes sense, whether it's money in a CD, secondary property. A lot of folks don't realize you could utilize your old 401k and use that as part of your project and part of your liquidity requirements, and maybe money in a CD to satisfy that collateral requirement as well. A resume and a written business plan are going to be required when we're going through this process. We do a pre-qualification here at Benetrends that doesn't require it. To get to the bank, you will need a business plan. Now, I know a lot of folks, time is important and we're busy. So if you did need resources to help you write that plan, I do have resources for you. We do provide a template and encourage folks to get involved in that process. The best path to success, if you're looking at multi-unit, some of these larger projects, will be to utilize 2 of our programs here at Benetrends, the rollover, which we're going to talk about shortly, and an SBA loan. Know that whenever you're looking at utilizing retirement funds that are eligible for our program, the lenders do look at that money as non-borrowed funds. A lot of times when you're talking about SBA, you'll hear 20% down, 15% down, 30% down. Keep in mind that's non-borrowed funds, and you can utilize the rollover program for that. The stimulus impact it's good news. What it does mean though, where things are taking longer. So right now, the SBA lenders are saying if your loan is approved by September 30th of this year, the lenders are waiving your guarantee fee. What that means to you is it's going to save you anywhere from 1.7 to 3% of your loan amount in closing costs. So whenever you close an SBA loan, traditionally, government charges you a guarantee fee, and that covers the guarantee that the government's actually giving the bank. And that is being paid for you straight through September of this year. On some of these larger loans, that could be a significant savings. Also, the SBA, and here it just shows you how fast things change. This slide, and forgive me, Bridget, and folks, that it does say 6 months of payments. Now, back in February, right after we did this slide, the government came back and slashed that to 3 months, okay? So when we go into a new loan or an existing loan, the SBA lender is willing to help you, and there is forgiveness. And I will get this updated for everybody, but it is 3 months of forgiveness, meaning they will pay the loan payment for you. It's not added to the back, of course, as long as that loan is approved by the SBA by September 30th of this year. If you are looking at an SBA loan, even if you're not 100% sure of what brand you're going to end up with, there's a lot that we can help you get done so that you can gain that benefit. When we're looking at getting an SBA loan right now, and this slide mentions the guarantee fee I just mentioned was waived. As you're looking at an SBA loan with regards to stimulus, you really want to focus on the fact that things can change. And the last slide shows you things changed since our last webinar. The government, I think, overextended themselves maybe a little bit, and so reined it in. We don't have any notification that it's going to change anytime soon, but again, I can't encourage you enough. Get through the process, get your share file with Benetrends set up. Our fee to do an SBA loan is 100% guaranteed. You will never be in a position where you paid us and you did not get the loan. You'll get every cent back if something changes. So there's no risk to you to do that. That slide just goes through some of the savings on some of the bigger loans. Of course, if you're working on a loan close to $5 million, 3 months of a full payment could be significant. And if you are working on any kind of build out or any situation where the bank's giving you reprievement in the first couple months, the good news is you still can get that. And the government's coming in and saying, okay, as soon as you have a full interest and principal payment, we'll pay it. So if the bank says we'll do interest only for 3 months, okay, we'll take it. You get 3 months of interest only, then your next full payments will be paid by the government. And again, as you can tell, time is of the essence. We want to get through that process as soon as we can. A lot of folks say, oh, got 6 months, plenty of time. I'll take my time. It's early days to find my concept, and I can't encourage you more. As you're going through the process of finding that brand, parallel, you can go through the process of at least starting to gather the information you'll need for your SBA loan. So to get pre-qualified, Benetrends will send you a pretty simple assessment form and ask you to run your credit. Again, no skin in the game, no risk to you, no cost, no obligation. Based on that information, we can see what type of loan you would pre-qualify for. We are not the lender, you guys. We cannot give you a pre-approval. I know it's semantics, but a pre-approval really means the bank has gone through your file and is most likely producing you a term sheet and ready to move forward based on certain contingencies. The pre-qualification is just Benetrends saying, we believe we have a lender. Very much like your mortgage broker with your mortgage pre-qualification. Some of the things that the lenders are looking at, we mentioned the 20%, 30% down. You also want to keep in mind that they're looking at once you make that down payment, once you put that commitment to the business and close the loan, how much money do you have in the bank? Have you prepared reserves for post-closing liquidity? And on both spectrums. So the lender's going to turn around and say, okay, for the business, how much working capital did you build? What if their pandemic causes an impact on your business negatively? Have you built reserves for that? Then they want to turn around and look at your bank account personally and say, well, now that you already put down your commitment for the business, have you depleted your reserves? They want to see that you have, in most cases, 12 months reserves in that bank account. So I'm hearing numbers anywhere from 40 to 50,000 from lenders that they want to see, of course, depending on the size of the project and whether you're working or not, but they do want to see those reserves. The timing of signing that franchise agreement, committing to the lender, if you're looking at real estate, signing a lease, sometimes that can become confusing, and what goes first? We don't want to put the cart before the horse. Benetrends, of course, your FranNet consultant as well. We will help you and navigate through that process. Benetrends has been working with franchisees through this process since 1983. So we know that every situation is unique, and we'll help you navigate to make sure that you're never committing to something in a non-refundable way without making sure all your I's are dotted, T's are crossed. I mentioned the business plan. We have resources for you. A lot of times I know you're meeting your FranNet consultant as you're leaving your job. Maybe you did, an outplacement webinar or conference, if we're back in conference mode, or virtual conference. So a lot of you are leaving your jobs. And I want to, reassure you that whether you have a job or not does not mean whether or not you'll get an SBA loan. Of course, if you're not working, they're going to want to see that you have the reserves, that you're able to pay your monthly bills. And we'll work with you here at Benetrends in coming up with a strategy, whether you're working or not, to show the lender and demonstrate to the lender that you're worth them investing in. Communication and expectation with lenders. Literally right before this webinar, I was explaining to Bridget that is something that is extremely frustrating right now, because things are taking longer. I used to be able to get an express loan done in 30 to 45 days. Now we're really talking 90 days. So you just want to keep in mind as you're navigating through this process that it is taking longer. It's the environment in which we live in, but that communication and expectation will definitely be handled. Benetrends will make sure that you are fully aware and have a realistic picture of what is happening. I get accused of getting a little more excited when we get to this slide because I get the chance to talk about what I think is the best program ever in the industry. We are owned by Len Fisher, who pioneered this program with the IRS and Department of Labor in 1983. It is a very exciting program to talk about. It is a really smart way for folks to fund their businesses. And I guarantee you, as you're out and about and you're doing your day-to-day, a lot of those businesses that you're frequenting have been funded this way. Can't make this stuff up. I've gone to puppy training, found out they bought the franchise with their retirement funds, and actually across the country we're Benetrends clients. So those kinds of things will start to happen now that you're aware of this program, I promise you. It is one of the more popular funding programs to purchase a new business, an existing business, a startup business, franchise, non-franchise. As long as you're running a business, selling a good or a service, this could be a great program for you. So, Len Fisher, back in 1983, he's an ERISA tax attorney. He was seeing that a lot of folks were in a position where they wanted to become entrepreneurs, but the bulk of their assets were in their retirement funds, maybe their old retirement fund from a previous employer. And that happens, right? We leave our job, we're sitting in a position where maybe we didn't expect to leave our job, and our largest asset is sitting in a place where we can only traditionally think that we can use it to invest in other people's companies. What Len said was, why can't we, with statutory law allowing us to do so, why can't we invest in those businesses and own those businesses? So here's an example of somebody who has a $200,000 retirement plan from their previous employer. Okay, so they had a big job over the years, put away in 401k or profit sharing, $200,000. They now left their job and they're thinking, oh, I'll just use my retirement funds to buy this awesome business that my FranNet consultant found for me. No problem. Well, if you're under 59 and a half, this is the situation you're going to find yourself in. You're going to have to pay your 10% penalty. And then, of course, the year in which you pull that money out, you're going to have to pay taxes. Now, most of us who think to do this are usually in a somewhat of a panic mode. We left our job maybe unexpectedly. And so this seems like a good idea. And usually we're going to pull the trigger the year in which we still had a pretty high tax rate. So, somebody who maybe had $200,000 for this venture, at the end of the day, if they just pull it out, would only have $120,000 to run their business. But what if you had the ability to utilize all of that money? It could be a game changer. And anyway, why not have the ability to utilize those funds in a productive way as opposed to just giving them to the government in taxes and penalties? Most of us don't realize that we've done a rollover. So if you've ever rolled money from one retirement plan to another, so you worked for, like in the past, I worked for corporate Gap. Then when I left the Gap, I rolled my 401k to my new employer at Electronic Arts. And then as soon as I got to Electronic Arts, of course, I wanted to purchase stock in my company. So I diverted some of my investments and bought stock in Electronic Arts. What I didn't realize at the time was, as I'm buying stock in my company, the company's getting the proceeds of that stock. So yes, in my retirement plan, I got stock and I was pleased to do so. The company got the money. Well, what if that company was my company? So here's how it works. And with respect to time, I know I go through this quickly. Forgive me for talking so fast. But let's just say you're buying ABC franchise and you're that person with the $200,000 retirement fund. The first thing you're going to do is we're going to set up your C corporation for you. You have to be a C corporation when you do this rollover program, which is great. It's its own entity. It's got full asset protection. We set you up in that C corp. We get your bylaws, your articles, your EIN number, and then we customize a qualified retirement plan. Here's where Benetrends shines. You're not just going to get a cookie cutter 401k because that might not behoove you. We're going to go through, understand how young you are, what kind of business you're running, how many employees you're going to have, what your long-term goals are, how many members are in your family that you're providing health care for. All these things will determine what makes sense for you in a retirement plan design. Once we do that, your company will sponsor that plan. And just like previous example where I rolled over my old 401k, you'll be able to roll over your eligible funds into this new plan, tax deferred, penalty free. The magic is once that money is rolled over here in step 3, what you're going to be able to do now is purchase the non-publicly traded stock in your company. So let's say in that past example, you rolled in $200,000. In step 3, you're going to literally buy $200,000 worth of non-publicly traded stock in your company. So by step 3, you're funded. Your corporate bank account will have $200,000 in its entirety for you to run your business. Now, what's nice about that is, of course, as I mentioned previously, it's considered non-borrowed funds. And so you can use that towards your SBA loan. Also, most plans, as long as they're not tied to a current employer, will qualify. It's easier to ask what plans will not qualify. A Roth IRA does not qualify. An inherited IRA from someone other than your spouse does not qualify. Pretty much all other plans, once you've terminated that relationship with your employer, will qualify. As I mentioned, one of the keys to success is utilizing the rollover with an SBA loan. So if you're sitting, let's say, with $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 in the bank, and you're looking at a small business loan and an opportunity, how nice to be able to utilize your old 401k and leave that money in your bank account to satisfy that post-closing liquidity. Maybe you're looking at multi-unit franchises, which, as you'll learn from your FranNet consultants, is usually where there's a lot of opportunity to make some great returns in the future. You could utilize your rollover funds to help you achieve that goal, and would love the opportunity to speak with you one-on-one about how to do that. So when it comes to looking at utilizing funding for these funding programs for your business, I want you to keep in mind you don't have to choose one or the other. So as I just mentioned, you can do a rollover in an SBA loan. You could also do a rollover in one of these programs. So just worth mentioning real quick in my last 90 seconds here, a portfolio loan. A lot of folks don't realize they can use this. So if you have over $100,000 invested in post-tax money, say you have a portfolio at Schwab, for example, you can borrow against it just like you borrow against your house in a home equity line of credit. And what's nice about it is it's use as you go. There's no term. The rates here, it says below 4%. I've heard them even below prime. So pretty impressive. Some folks do use home equity. I don't want to be, remiss to not mention that folks are utilizing home equity with the rates as low as they are in combination with some of these other programs, maybe not in combination with an Sba loan, but certainly in combination with the rollover for business startup. And then lastly, a participation loan. Some of you might not be leaving your job, or you might have a spouse that has a 401k with their current employer. You can always have access to borrow up to 50%, capping out at 50,000. And when you do the ROBS program with Benetrends, a lot of folks are utilizing a participation loan to bridge the gap between leaving their job and having their business up and running. It's a great program. I'd love to speak with you more about it. And of course, either programs can be used in conjunction with an Sba loan. With respect to time, I want to get to any questions you have. There's a great many of you on the line today. I'm going to pass it back over to Bridget and look forward to answering all your questions.
Great. Thank you so much, Wendy. I know we covered a lot of information in a very short amount of time. However, Wendy's contact information is on the screen. Feel free to contact her directly, or feel free to contact your FranNet franchise consultant, and they can best guide you on next steps. If you are not currently sure what direction of business ownership is going to be the best fit for you, I would also encourage you to work with us here at FranNet to help us guide you through collecting that information that you can utilize to help determine that. One of the best ways to do that is to complete your franchise readiness assessment. It's our proprietary profiling tool that you can find on our website. And what that will do is help establish your individual values, motives, core competencies. This is a great tool that your FranNet consultant can utilize to help you recognize some of those attributes that you possess and what they might look like in you as a business owner. It can also help us to guide you in determining if franchising might be a good fit for you or not. So like I mentioned, feel free to go to our website and click on the orange tab for the franchise readiness assessment. It's also called an entrepreneurial assessment. And that would be a great place to start to get connected with your local franchise consultant if you haven't already done so. If you're unsure who your consultant would be locally, you can also locate your franchise consultant by location on our website by clicking on the consultant tab there, as noted on the screen here now. So I want to thank you all for joining us here today. Again, I know we covered a lot of information in a very short amount of time. If you have a question, please do submit that in the question box at this time. I will mention that we did record the program today. You will be getting a recording of this webinar, and the slides that we did walk through will be in that recording as well. So please do submit your questions at this time, and we'll get those answered for you. And I don't see any questions coming in at this time. I think those that have come in, I have answered already. We do have a couple of minutes for questions if you have them. Feel free to submit them now. Let me go back to Wendy's contact information here. There we go. I'm going to go ahead and put Wendy's contact information back on the screen in case you want to contact her directly. And like Wendy mentioned, there's a different strategy for each individual, their own financial situation, and the businesses that they're exploring, whether it's a single location, multiple locations. And the best way to really get solid information, feedback on your personal situation is to have a consultation with Wendy and her team. Gosh, I don't see any questions coming in at this time. If you have a question, please submit it in the question box. I see that somebody's hand has raised. Gina, if you want to go ahead and submit your question in the question box. If I unmute everyone's lines, there'll just be too much background noise. We've got several folks on the call here today. So there's a section on your control panel that says questions. Go ahead and submit your question there. And I am not seeing any questions coming in today. That's extremely unusual.
That is.
Let's see here. There may be one coming in. We'll give it just another moment here before we wrap up the phone call here today. If you have a question, please submit it in the question box. Joshua, I see you've raised your hand as well. And see, there may have been the start of a question come in. Joshua, if you could retype that question in there, it did not come through. Okay, so the question that came through, Wendy, is could you please explain more about the C Corporation?
So in other words, the difference I would assume between like a C corporation, an LLC, and an S corp. So when you do the rollover program, you don't have a choice. You have to be a C corporation. What's different about a C corporation to an LLC or an S corp is that it's its own entity. So when you're running an LLC, you're running a schedule through your personal tax return. With that C corporation, it's its own entity. It's filing its own tax return. Really important though, when you start talking about C corporations, there's a lot of misinformation about there's no way to avoid double taxation. Know that with this plan, you're obviously you have this amazing retirement plan to help navigate through that and minimize any of that. Definitely worth a separate call. But the big difference is that it's its own entity. It's owned by shareholders. Those shareholders can be your retirement plan, and you are filing your own tax return, and it is a separate asset. So for asset protection, it's a really nice protection.
Great. And Wendy, what about the rollover program for residential care for the elderly? Is that possible to use the rollover program for that?
Absolutely. You're running a business, you're selling a service, you can absolutely do it. We have a lot of folks use their retirement funds to convert homes for in-home healthcare and to buy home healthcare franchises all day long.
Great. And the rollover process from start to finish, once you are engaged, takes about 4 weeks, correct?
It does, Bridget. If you're in California, it'll take another week or so, but generally you could get it completed within a 4-week process, yes.
Great, great. And when it comes to real estate investments, a question came in, is it possible to form a S corporation and purchase a home loan under the corporation?
So if you're looking at a real estate for investment, it depends if you're looking for long-term holding as like a landlord and you just want to buy real estate and hold it long-term and rent it out. That's not what the ROBS is for. If you're looking to buy real estate and do flipping, or you want to do an Airbnb, vacation rentals, that's perfect for the ROBS. It's your job, it's an active business. To answer your question, could you have an S Corp so the S Corp could get the loan? Not if you're using ROBS funds. With the ROBS funds, usually folks will create an LLC for the real estate. The C Corp will be the business. But if you need money from your retirement funds to obtain that real estate loan, then it all goes under the C Corp. And you would most likely have an LLC on that mortgage or on the real estate, commercial real estate loan, but it would be essentially tied to the C Corporation through that LLC.
Okay, and what about, while we're on the subject of real estate, when it comes to SBA loans, if you're doing, say, real estate investment, house flipping, can you get an SBA loan for that?
It's going to be difficult. Your best bet is going to be to go directly to like a real estate, where you get your mortgage or a commercial lender. It depends. The SBA, it's a lot easier if you're on the SBA directory. There are real estate franchises, as you could attest to, Bridget, that for sure you could get an SBA loan. But it really depends. But most likely your best bet is going to go to a real estate funding source.
Okay, great, great. And when it comes to SBA loans and funding, there will always need to be collateral, correct?
You can get away without personal collateral. Sometimes if you're getting just a strictly working capital loan under 150, there's 2 banks out there that'll do it without, or I should say few banks out there, but there are a few that will do it without personal collateral. But it can't be used as anything but working capital. So in other words, it can't be used towards like a build out.
Got it. Okay, wonderful. Good questions. And some of these are very specific to personal situations. Great questions either way. I would encourage you, we do need to wrap up our program here today. We're a little bit over time, but I did want to take those couple of questions that came in. So contact Wendy directly or your FranNet consultant directly to help guide you through your questions and make sure that you get all of your questions answered. We want to thank you for joining us here again today. As Wendy said, the lending environment changes almost daily right now. And so it is really important to work with a professional consultant like Wendy and her team at Benetrends and get those personal, individual questions answered, come up with a strategy for your funding so that you can be set up best for success in your new business venture. If we can help you here at FranNet make that connection at all, we would love to do so. You can find your FranNet consultant on our website at frannet.com. Thank you again for joining us here today. We really appreciate you taking the time out of your day to learn a little bit more about funding. Enjoy your afternoon, everybody. Have a good one. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much. Bye-bye now.